Alright, TikTok, let's go hunt some werewolves. I'm currently in Elkhorn, Wisconsin for a wedding, and as a cryptozoology fan, that means I also have a pilgrimage I need to make. I am, of course, talking about Bray Road. This is where, back in the early 1990s, reports started coming in of a creature that looked, for all intents and purposes, like a werewolf. Sightings of the so-called Beast of Bray Road would later be lumped in with sightings from elsewhere in the Midwest to create a new cryptid, the Dogman. Now, of course, I don't think there's an actual undiscovered werewolf-like animal living here, but when in Rome, make like the Romans do. As a kid, I always imagined Bray Road as some abandoned back road, but no, it's a street with houses and farm fields on it. And clearly this homeowner has decided to get in on the fun. I don't know who they are, but I want them to be my friend. And that's why I love cryptids so much, even as a skeptic. You don't need to believe in them to enjoy them. They're a wonderful part of local folklore in a lot of small towns, and I think that alone is worth celebrating. Besides, there are totally real monsters out there. I actually saw one on the way back to my hotel. If you're a fan of cryptids, then you have no doubt heard of the Dogman, a werewolf-like creature reported from the American Midwest since the early 1990s. Well, there is now a fantastic, in-depth article on the Dogman and the alleged evidence for it written by Dr. Darren Naish on his Tetrapod Zoology blog. It's an amazing, critical look at the legend that I can't recommend enough, and it even features an illustration and some photos by yours truly. And now, I want to expand on some of what Dr. Naish says, because I've actually been to the location of the original sightings, Bray Road in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and I think I've solved the mystery of what caused them. The very first Bray Road sightings are very suspicious. They have a lot of improbable details, and Dr. Naish thinks that they're probably pranks, and I think he's right on the money. Because when I visited Bray Road, I was struck by just how unremarkable it is. It's an ordinary paved Midwestern farming road with houses and open fields all around it and very little tree cover. It's not a good monster habitat. It is, however, a great staging ground for a prank because the local high school is only a mile away, which makes it a very interesting coincidence that the first sightings were all reported by teenagers. Okay, but if these are pranks, what inspired them? Well, the answer's simple. The movies. As Dr. Naish notes in his article, the rise in Dogman reports coincides with special effects allowing werewolf movies to replace the classic Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman with the more modern, upright walking wolf with human features that we're all familiar with from movies like Dog Soldiers and Ginger Snaps and the Underworld franchise. And while most of those movies came around after Dogman sightings had already began, two predate them: The Howling and An American Werewolf in London, both released in 1981. Both movies were readily available on VHS and airing on television at the time. In fact, one of the first Bray Road sightings is said to have happened on Halloween night, the exact time of year when these would be on television. And I think the real smoking gun is the sightings themselves, because the early Bray Road sightings actually described the creature two very different ways. One was the image we've all become familiar with, a huge two-legged wolf with a human-like torso, a perfect match for the werewolves in The Howling. The other was a four-legged creature that looked like a gigantic wolf or dog covered with long, shaggy black or gray fur, a dead ringer for the werewolf in An American Werewolf in London. Now, I don't think that all the Bray Road sightings were pranks by teenagers. I think after a certain point, they were misidentifications of known animals influenced by popular culture. Because what you have to remember is that people were calling these werewolf sightings pretty much from the beginning, and so people had an expectation that there was an unknown creature out there that looked like a werewolf. And guess which two movies were the only ones available at the time that had werewolves that didn't look like the old Lon Chaney Wolfman? The Howling and An American Werewolf in London. It's all connected.